Let us start this from a reported quote by a famous Indian politician, Mamta Banerjee, who stated Indian Premier Narendra Modi's hands are dripping in blood. Even one of the superior-most judges of Delhi High Court, Justice Rajinder Sachar, concluded in his report that the acts of naked aggression and violence committed by Modi constitute a dark chapter in the history of humankind. Both these references have their roots in the decades-old mass persecution of Muslims at the hands of Hindutva-inspired supremacists, with this persecution transforming into a popular trend under Delhi's official patronage during the incumbency of Modi government that is using all these hateful tactics with use of unending brute force in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It is on this account that neutral observers opine that fear, chaos and state terrorism are the key elements of Modi government's model of governance of the territory known as IIOJ&K. What, horrible, on earth has not happened here? Gang rapes of Kashmiri womenfolk by all-powerful Indian soldiers whose authority remains unchallenged, mass enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, indiscriminate demolition of innocent Kashmiris' houses, combing and cleansing operations in the garb of search operations, illegal, lengthy detentions of journalists reporting actual facts, blinding of Kashmiris with pellet guns, siege, clampdown and communication blockade. Imagine any inhuman act, it is being committed shamelessly and with impunity in sheer disregard for the norms of natural justice and universal declarations of human freedom and rights. Many sane voices have started questioning as to how can any amount of unending brute force and disrespect for universal laws, rights and liberties, be justified in the world of today that has come a long way to its present state of advanced civilization and peaceful coexistence? More shocking revelation for these sane ones is that India continues to thrive on this basis, that too with the acquiescence of global heavyweights, for reasons of expediency, ideological biases and market interests, as if they bear greater significance than the rights to life, assembly and free expression. Unfortunately, India's Kashmir-specific hegemonic actions and state-sponsored violence have not at all jolted the world conscience despite years of brutalities perpetrated on a peace-loving, harmless fraternity of Kashmiris that is demanding nothing except their fundamental right of self-determination that has been universally and formally recognized at all the fora as well as in universal declarations of freedom, worth the name. As a matter of fact, India cares a fig for universal laws and governance or even for basic, inviolable rights. In this theatre of these crudities and cruelties IIOJ&K, the hell has been let loose on the innocent Kashmiris demanding their due right of self-determination for which a resolution was unequivocally adopted by UNSIP, United Nations Commission on India and Pakistan, 7+ decades ago, on January 5, 1949. This resolution acknowledged the right to self-determination as a vital component of human dignity, and it was clearly mentioned in the resolution that the question of accession of IIOJ&K would be decided through democratic method of a free and impartial plebiscite. Nothing done so far in this direction. Nor did the major powers, barring China's support, on occasions, put their weight behind the just cause of Kashmiris. As a result of this apathy, even after 72 long years, Kashmiris are still living under brutal Indian occupation that New Delhi government has tried to justify by way of promulgating draconian laws and lately by abolishing the special status of Kashmir through unconstitutional and unjust repeal of Articles 370 and 35 of the Indian Constitution. Surprisingly, this goes against the commitments and public pronouncements of India's own Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, for the holding of plebiscite to ascertain the will of the people of Kashmir. Additionally, Nehru is reported to be on record, having stated somewhat in this manner that neither the territory of Kashmir belonged to Pakistan, nor to India but to Kashmiris, exclusively. On ground, it is a reign of terror unleashed by Indian forces on unarmed, peace-loving Kashmiris who are facing a very stringent and strangulating lockdown, read siege, at the hands of trigger-happy Indian troops for the last 500+ days, in addition to a long list of Indian atrocities that include extrajudicial killings during search operations and in fake encounters. And the inhuman tool of rape has also been used quite often to subjugate and humiliate Kashmiris. Of late, however, Indian actions have got somewhat exposed and, as such, have been widely rejected by international community, UN and international human rights organizations, though not at the optimal level. As for India's obduracy, it has not subsided despite this global realization. Consequently, people of IIOJ&K are being subjected to collective punishment by Indian occupation forces who have converted the territory into the largest militarized zone in the world by relying upon black laws like IIOJ&K Disturbed Areas Act, Armed Forces Special Powers Act and Public Safety Act. The powers drawn by Indian troops are used mercilessly to crush the freedom struggle. Quite brazenly, India has, time and again, tried to justify its illegal actions that special circumstances have forced them to adopt special, draconian, laws, although these laws find no precedence in the history of civilized, tolerant world. The impression is being given to the world at large that whatever the number of reports published on Indian bestialities, everything was being done according to law. In reality, the so-called word law is mere eyewash because Indian soldiers have so far killed tens of thousands of innocent Kashmiris, raped hundreds of their womenfolk, abducted thousands of protesters and martyred a large number of them in an extrajudicial manner. To reproduce a portion of readily available figures, during the last 1 year alone, Indian troops martyred 474 Kashmiris and also demolished 657 houses in so-called 313 search operations, besides imprisoning many journalists who have exposed the true face of Indian oppression. And when the Kashmiris tried to organize themselves against injustices of India, New Delhi got more ruthless in its reaction and unleashed a series of cruelties to suppress the Kashmiris' voice through brutal state terrorism. Now, the current situation in IIOJ&K is worst in recent history, where people have been deprived of their fundamental rights, including the rights to life, food, health, freedom of expression and assembly. Moreover, in order to consolidate its unjust position, India crossed all constitutional limits on August 5, 2019, through continuous, illegal and unilateral steps including the repeal of Articles 370 and 35A. As a matter of fact, Narendra Modi's government has created an environment of fear and chaos in IIOJ&K in sheer disregard for its prime obligation that it ought to fulfill as a member of UN, international fraternity. As regards Pakistan's contribution towards this just cause, the conscientious people and leading lights of all shades of opinion have been consistently extending moral, political and diplomatic support to the legitimate struggle of the people of IIOJ&K and will continue to do so till the realization of the right to self-determination in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions. In a nutshell, the terms atrocities, oppression and suppression dwarf before bestialities committed so frequently and brazenly by Indian tyrants whose basic ideology is founded on hatred for lowly ones. And who else, in the eyes of supremacist Hindus, can be more lowly than the people of Kashmir who are Muslims, having no right to raise their voice against uninterrupted state oppression?